You're listening to Scheduling Sin with me, Snowmill.
And I'm thinking about the anatomy of my butt. And it's like,
There are
go
not
with me
a
on this.
lot. Yeah,
No, go with me on this. No,
he had a beautiful, huge cock.
well, hello, Mrs. Snow.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Mr. Snow?
I'm great. It feels like forever since we've been sitting in front of these microphones.
It's been a minute. There's just been a lot of life going on and just, very vanilla.
Very vanilla, very
boring,
but also super duper stressful life things going on.
Yeah. So we apologize that it's been a little while.
We have gotten a little bit distant. We've gotten a little bit behind. So for that, we apologize, but we are back.
But we also appreciate some people reaching out because I think we've gotten a couple messages saying, hey, just making sure you guys are okay. We miss you.
Yeah, we did. And that, I got to tell you, that means a lot.
It does.
To hear from you guys and to hear, hey, just checking in to see if you're okay.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how much that means to us. So we really appreciate all the people who've kind of reached out and asked, what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
But rest assured, we are back.
Yeah.
Mrs. Snow would never leave her audience.
No, absolutely not. I'm just too much of a brat not to get all the attention, right? That's what Mr. Snow would say.
Well, we have a lot to catch up on.
We do.
We've got some updates on the Discord.
Mm-hmm.
We've got an article that you found.
I did. I'm pretty excited about my nerd self.
We've got some fun new approaches from single guys that we just have to share. These are too good not to share.
It just poses so many questions.
I know. We have.
Maybe I don't want this to come off as kink shaming, but maybe there's a little kink shaming.
A little kink shaming. And we've also got my recent solo play.
Yes.
To talk about, which finally, spoiler alert, has finally happened. And we even have a recent threesome to share where we tried a few new things.
Mm-hmm.
So before any further ado,
buckle up.
Let's get into it. So first, housekeeping. Discord. If you're not on our Discord, you should be.
Why not? What's going on?
There are links in the show notes, but we did make some changes and we want to explain that. So the Discord, like all Discord servers, people join and some folks stay and participate and engage in the community and are really kind of join the flow. And some people join for just a little while and then disappear. And then some people join and then never say anything. And we don't really like the idea of kicking inactive members out. I know that's a pretty common thing on Discord. We don't really want to do that. What we are doing, though, is for members on our Discord who are not active and communicating, chatting, within a 30-day time frame, we're going to go to an inactive status. And what that does is it drops you back out of the general chat, out of the picture chats, and you're not kicked out of the server, but you're kind of sort of in a holding pattern. Mm-hmm. And if you find, as we do that, if you find that happens to you and you want to rejoin the conversation, just reach out to me or any of the other moderators and we'll help you get reestablished. But the idea is we were kind of feeling like we had some lurkers and we were starting to feel a little watched in the group.
Wanted to see my titties.
Yeah. So,
which, you know what? I don't blame you.
Yeah, you're totally
nice
welcome.
Titties.
There's some really good titties. I tell you what, the NSFW rap room, especially on Tuesdays.
Oh, because it's Tata Tuesdays.
Oh God, that's the place to be. But you have to participate. You have to be part of the conversation. You don't have to be a big chatter all the time. You don't have to be on there all the time, but you do need to at least sort of be mingling a little bit. So that's all for Discord. If you haven't joined, there are links in the show notes to get you set up with Discord. You can also reach out to us. If you're not a Discord person, you can hit us up on Twitter at schedulingsin, or you can email us snowmilf@yahoo.com. And that's SNOMILF@yahoo.com.
There's also our website.
Yeah. The website is www.schedulingsin.com. And there's also a great blog there too.
Yeah. So you can do that. You can contact us there as well.
Yeah. So lots of ways to get a hold of us. That's the housekeeping for today. You want to talk about this article you found?
Yeah. So I came across, I'm a little bit of a nerd, if you haven't figured that out. Forbes, which I feel like is a fairly reputable magazine. It's not, the New York Star. So Forbes came out with an article on June 8th of this year. And it's called "Why Are Non-Monogamous Relationships Thriving?" And I guess it was a psychologist answer. So I guess the psychologist who, Dr. Mark Travers, I think. Anyway, he talks a lot about non-monogamous relationships and why they're gaining popularity and a lot of traction. And so there are a couple pieces in this article that I thought were really interesting. And there is some research associated with it, which I thought was really interesting. It says, I'm going to read parts of it and we'll talk a little bit about it here. It says, non-monogamous relationships have been gaining interest and popularity among people looking for love. A 2021 study among a sample of 3,000 single U.S.-based adults. Sorry, UK friends, this is a U.S.-based study. It said 1 in 6 desire to engage in polyamory. 1 in 9 had engaged in some form of polyamory at some point in their lives. And 1 in 15 knew someone who had previously engaged in or were currently involved in a polyamorous relationship. So there's some conversation about polyamory. And again, those non-traditional relationships, I think, is what this article is really focusing on. But it does also talk about the consensual non-traditional relationships with multiple partners. So that includes the polyamory and swinging. I find it hilarious that swinging is in quotes.
Right. Like it's hypothetical.
Those swingers.
But right there, I mean, 1 in 6 having engaged in polyamory, that's a gigantic number.
No. 1 in 6 desire. 1 in 9 had.
Even still.
Yeah.
1 in 9 having had involved. Because you think about that, how non-mainstream polyamory is. Right?
Right.
Like if 1 in 9 people have engaged in polyamory, not just thought about it, but actually tried it out. I mean, I know way more than 9 people, and I don't know anybody that I know
that
of.
You know of.
That I know
right.
of. And
Yeah.
And so what's that tell you, right? That tells you that there's a lot more going on than you know about.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing that it talked about was how, why are these gaining popularity? Despite this flourishing, despite unfavorable perceptions. I guess there's a lit review done in November, highlights, Journal of Family Theory and Review, and it highlights how non-monogamous relationships are perceived to be more promiscuous, perverted, and untrustworthy.
They're definitely more perverted.
Well, that's true, but I don't know about trustworthy. Such relationships, the review suggests, are also viewed as unsustainable and prone to jealousy. However, then the question is why are they gaining in popularity if this is how they're perceived? And so it goes on to talk about why people choose non-monogamy. And some of them are kind of pretty commonsensical, like, the sexual demographics. People who are younger, sexual minority groups, non-binary, transgendered, obviously they're more likely to seek out those non-monogamous relationships, value-based differences, personality differences. But then it talks about unfulfilled needs. And what I think is interesting about that is it talks about a 2020 study found that 42% of participants believe their non-monogamous relationships provided the benefits of diversified need fulfillment. So people that were in these polyamorous relationships might enjoy more commitment satisfaction and better communication from their primary partners, and then their secondary partners might offer more passion and sexual satisfaction. So again, it's that unfulfilled need. What I think what's not talked about here, which you and I have talked about several times, is that unfulfilled need of your desire of just bisexuality.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So this one is, they talk about unfulfilled need. And right away, when I read that, my kind of yellow flags went up a little bit, in that I feel like throwing out this idea of unfulfilled need as a basis for entering into the lifestyle. I can't really speak for polyamory because that's not our bag, but particularly from the lifestyle perspective, it's a very slippery slope, right?
You mean labeling it unfulfilled need versus adding in addition to,
yes. And I think it's an important distinction that I think maybe they kind of missed on, because this idea of being an unfulfilled need makes me sound as though in my monogamous state that I am unsatisfied. And I suppose for some people that could be true, but engaging in the lifestyle in order to combat being unhappy in your sex life is not a healthy way to engage in lifestyle.
Right.
But that aside, certainly from an additive perspective.
Well, but don't you think, I mean, to kind of challenge that, like, I hear what you're saying, but do you think that some people engage in these non-traditional relationships because I may be perfectly content with my partner, right? But I also have the sexual desire to be with the same sex because I have that bisexuality. Like, that's part of my...
Sure. But and yes. And that's the thing the bisexuality piece is almost sort of the easy one, right? Mm-hmm. Because whether it be male bisexuality, female bisexuality, it doesn't matter. Your opposite sex partner cannot be a same-sex person for you. They can try to play a role that you might like them to play. They can try fetishes or clothing that you might like. They can put on the show for you in almost every regard, of course, but they can't be not what they are.
Yeah.
And so no question that the lifestyle allows a person to pursue that. I want to be so careful with that it's absolutely a way to add to your sex life.
Well, add to your relationship.
But it should not be viewed as, I love my wife, but we have a terrible sex life, so I want to get into swinging so that I can go have sex somewhere else. In other words, using it as a license to cheat.
Yeah. And there's another part that I thought was really interesting. It says individuals in non-monogamous relationships experience greater satisfaction and commitment than their monogamous counterparts. Non-traditional relationships result in greater satisfaction, boasting better communication, and more openness and need fulfillment than conventional relationships.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
In 2015, a study published in Sexual and Relationship Therapy found that adults aged 55 and above were happier in non-exclusive, unconventional relationships compared to those in monogamous relationships. Non-monogamous older adults also reported more sexual frequency and better health than their traditional counterparts.
I think that only makes sense. And part of the relationship, it might be counterintuitive to say that the relationships seem to be better among lifestyle couples.
Yeah.
But part of that is it takes work.
Oh, absolutely.
This lifestyle takes work in a relationship that I feel like a lot of monogamous sort of, I'm going to use the word stagnant people, really aren't doing any of that work because they don't feel the need to.
Yeah. And this is the last part that I thought, again, it's what I really appreciated about this article is that it seemed very positive, and it wasn't, I mean, obviously any relationship's going to have stuff you got to work on. Right. But it wasn't shaming it at all. It says individuals in open relationships having more than one sexual or romantic partner at a time felt as sexually satisfied as individuals in monogamous relationships. Swingers or committed couples who engage in sexual activities with others felt greater sexual satisfaction than monogamous individuals.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think that's really, it's very validating.
It is.
And I think, again, it's what people perceive swinging or non-monogamous relationships to be as opposed to what it is. And I will own all day long, and I'm sure you will as well. Like, thinking about this 3 years ago, there was just kind of this not understanding what it was.
I don't know if like before we really started down this road, if I read that article, I don't know if I would have believed it.
Yeah. Even like given the fact that it's coming from a fairly reputable source. There are studies that are, they have some evidence to support some of their claims. Like, this is not an editorial, right? Like, this is not someone's opinion.
Right. But until you've kind of lived it, it's hard to really understand it. Because people have such strongly held beliefs about this stuff. But,
yeah,
I look at this as, look at the way the lifestyle and frankly, having sex with other people and being in those sexually open situations with other people. Look at what that has done just for yours and my sex life together.
Yeah. Absolutely. So this is the last part of it, which I think is really interesting. It says it's important to prioritize open communication, trust, and mutual consent if we attempt to explore alternative ways of forming intimate connections. Engaging in thorough self-reflection and open dialogue can help establish clear boundaries and expectations. Ultimately, the success of non-monogamous relationship hinges on a foundation of honesty and empathy for all parties involved.
Yeah.
Again, I just appreciate the way this is, like, everything about this article.
Oh, 100%.
It's there's no shame to it, of course, but it's also like, hey, this is happening in society. This is more common than people realize.
Right.
So let's look at it and why is this more common? What's the attraction?
Right.
And just like people are people no matter where they are, and you're going to have dysfunctional people in these relationships because people are people, right?
Right.
But just like in monogamous relationships, they can have healthy, good relationships.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, the last sentence or the last paragraph that you read there about, being open and honest and trusting and empathy and all those things.
And self-reflection.
That's
a huge piece.
Oh, it is enormous. And those are the things that I think the elements that are missing when we get that question, well, how do I get my wife to do this?
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, we and a lot of other people get that question all the time.
Yeah.
And it comes from a place of horniness, which, trust me, I can appreciate that. But
Mr. Sno is also very horny.
But it's not coming from a genuine place of...
Well, it's coming from and in some ways, it comes from a place of just not knowing.
Right.
You don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And there's just an ignorance there. And that's, it's just what it is. And,
Yeah.
and if you don't know what it is, and if what you think it is just a free for all,
yeah,
then I can understand why you would approach it with that same, well, how do I do that? What do I do?
Maybe we should do an article sometime or an episode sometime on how to start the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And how not to start the conversation.
Yeah. I think that the reality is if you don't have, it's not about starting this specific conversation. It's how do you engage in open dialogue with your partner?
Right.
Like, how are you communicating with your person?
Right.
Right. Are you able to be vulnerable?
Right.
Are you able to be authentic? Are you able to really say what you think and how you feel without it being misperceived or are you allowed to just say what you want to say, but work through it? You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Are you able to have that freedom to do that? Because I think language is very important, but sometimes we have to kind of start talking to realize what is it that I want to say or how I want to, what I really mean.
Right.
But also your partner has to be able to go through that with you.
Right.
Not immediately take every word you say as 100% what you mean, especially when you're trying to figure out what it is that you want.
Well, and not turning everything into sarcasm.
Right.
And leverage.
And making it out to be this personal attack.
Right.
Like people wanting to engage in this or exploring or just kind of fantasizing even. It's not a personal, I'm not doing this necessarily because I'm not getting everything I want or need from you.
Well, and I think a lot of people feel very accosted by that question. If for example, you are the person who your spouse comes to you
mm-hmm.
and says, hey, I would like to see what this lifestyle thing is all about. I think it's very easy to react to that question as sort of, well, what's wrong with me?
Right. Oh, sure. And that's a natural thing, right?
What's wrong with me? Why aren't you getting what you want from me? And I think that's a perfectly natural reaction.
Right.
And it's learning how to communicate to that person. Hopefully, and this is where I go with the unfulfilled needs part. There's nothing wrong with you.
And this is something that I want to do
say.
With you, not without you.
Exactly.
Right. Because if this is something that you don't want to do with your partner, I think you're missing the boat.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You can't really do it without your partner, I think, in an ethical way. And even if, and I know there are situations like this where the partner's like, well, you go do what you want. I just don't want to hear about it.
But I still think there's some things there.
You're doing damage.
Are not great.
You're doing damage. Even if you quote unquote get a hall pass or get permission, I think you really have to evaluate whether that's honest or not.
Yeah.
I think that's a whole episode all by itself.
Yeah.
As to how to have this conversation with your partner.
Well, stay tuned.
Stay tuned. So moving on to.
But anyway, I thought that was it's cool to see that in Main Street. You know what I mean? Like, it's cool to see that.
Absolutely, it is, and it's exciting to see it coming around.
And it's not like this big taboo thing.
Well, right. We're not being painted as
sexual deviants.
Sexual deviants.
I mean, we are.
We are totally sexual deviants. Yeah. Let's just hope they never figure that out.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have some new single male approaches.
I can't even. When you came to me with some of these,
yeah,
I was like, this is not real.
Oh,
you are making this up.
No, this shit's real.
It's insane.
This shit's real. Okay, so the first one, I am 4 days out of jail and horny as hell. Can I hit it?
So which emoji do you respond with?
All of them. I don't know. I fucking don't know. Like, how? What the fuck?
4 days out of jail.
4 days out of jail. I'm horny as hell. Can I hit it?
What? Do you think the appropriate response would have been, how long were you in jail?
What were you in there for?
Did you get some anal?
Oh, God. Okay.
Clearly,
next one.
You were the bottom.
The next one is.
Oh, this one I can't.
This one is. We're going to do a little kink shaming here.
Yeah, we are.
I'm sorry. We try super hard not to do this.
And honestly, this is what you're into. That's fine. Just that's not fine, what we're into.
But it's weird. Bad breath. It was something along the lines of, does she have bad breath?
Did she already brush her teeth this morning?
And at first, when I saw this message, I truly thought that this person was like being shitty. Like I don't know, like they saw our pictures and like thought we're ugly or something like that. And I really thought they were being shitty. And then I started to realize that this person, no, like legitimately, this person is super into women that have terrible breath. And he was asking me what you had for breakfast and whether you had brushed your teeth or not.
Did he talk about like me wanting to breathe on him?
Well, he didn't.
Or like he just wanted to make out with my bad breath?
To be fair, we didn't go far down this road.
See, sometimes I think, again, I know we've had this conversation. I want to engage with these people because I really want to be like,
how far does this rabbit hole go?
How far does it go?
Yeah.
And like the nerdy, like neuroscience part of me is like, what fucked up thing happened to you?
Yeah, right. Who hurt you?
Who hurt you? Right. And yeah, just like, where does that come from?
I don't know. But that, I'm not going to lie, the bad breath thing, again, if that's what you're into, I mean, that's okay. But it is weird.
But it is weird. And it is also, maybe I should give him some credit in that, like, you started with that, right? Yeah. Sometimes the really weird, kinky things don't come out of the closet day one, right?
Well,
you would
think so.
Line one.
Yeah, no, like right out of the gate.
Right out of the gate.
Right out of the gate. This was right up there with She Fertile.
She Fertile.
She Fertile. Yeah.
It
was right up there with that.
But
one.
I still think with you, is she fertile or was that a she fertile?
Well, see right? Here again.
You know what I mean? There was no question mark.
This is the problem. No punctuation.
No punctuation.
No commas. No punctuation.
And what do we say about our little friend?
Our little friend. He's not so little.
That's true. The comma got him laid.
Comma got him pussy. See, totally this is one of the hidden gems for anyone who's writing a message to someone. If you can manage to successfully use a comma, like use complete sentences, use complete words. Don't use the letter U in place of the word you. Use an apostrophe, YOU apostrophe RE.
Right.
Give me some context clues, right? That you might be interesting to talk to.
Well, that you're like that you can construct a sentence and
if you throw a
conversation.
semicolon in there, I might just explode all over
I might.
the place.
Yeah, you just might automatically get a dick pic. Yeah. Sure.
So those are our
our
interesting approaches for the. I'm sure we'll get more by the next week. I'm sure. You went to a pride rally
I did.
recently.
So as part of my job, my agency went to a Pride Fest as just as a vendor, and I had never been to a Pride Fest, and so the city we live in actually has a pretty good one, and it was pretty fun, and obviously a lot of rainbows, a lot of very flamboyant people, a lot of people dressed in a lot of things, and there were quite a bit of furries there. There were a handful of people who were dressed like as animals, like in full like animal costumes.
Yeah.
A lot of people with tails.
Okay.
But I don't think that they were butt plugs with tails. I think they were just like pinned to their shorts or pants or whatever they were wearing.
Yeah.
And it's just very interesting. And it didn't. And I talked to a couple people, just again being curious, be curious, not judgmental. Thanks, Ted Lasso. But I guess there's a difference between furries in cosplay, like people that just dress up as furries, and then there's people that identify as furries, and I guess that's a little bit different.
There's a little bit of a distinction there.
Yeah, and then there was one couple. They were, I think there were 3 of them, and the girl was in a harness with a leash, with a ball gag, and her person was leading her around on a leash that was in a furry costume.
Okay.
And so it's
was the girl on the leash in a furry costume also?
She had a tail.
Okay.
But again, it's just interesting, and I find it interesting.
We have to get a furry on the show.
I'm just really curious, and I want to know the difference between this furry cosplay sexual fetish. I think that's one and the same. I guess I don't know. And then you have people that identify as that. I don't know what the difference is.
Yeah, that's why we say it. We really need somebody who is a furry to come on the show and talk to us about it, because this is something I'm fascinated about. It is a kink that I genuinely don't understand.
Right. And I'm just, it's not that I want to shame it. I just want to understand it.
I just don't really get it.
Yeah.
I will say though, and I have I can't explain this. I'm not that I know of attracted to furries, but the idea of you wearing a butt plug with a tail, I cannot explain to you why I think that's hot, but it is.
Well, I guess the other question is what is a furry?
Well, I don't know.
Like, is it more like you're like, you want me to dress up as an animal?
No, it's not that at all.
Like, is it
There's just something about you wearing a butt plug with a tail on it that.
Do you think it's a butt plug at all?
Well, here's what I think it is. I think
you like my ass.
Well, yeah, but here's what I think it is. I think I want you to wear a butt plug and I want to be able to see it.
Okay, so it's not necessarily specifically the tail as much as you want to know that it's in there.
I want to be able to see that it's in there. And the tail kind of accomplishes that.
Yeah.
Right? There are also light up butt plugs, which I have seen those a few times.
Well, some of them have like jewels on them.
I know. There are ones that have jewel. The jeweled ones I have questions about. So there are butt plugs that I have seen, a bunch of them, that have the flared base. Of course, you have to have the flared base. Everybody knows that. That's how you stay out of the ER. But a lot of these flared bases are like heart shaped.
Oh, sure. Or they have like a jewel,
and they have little jewels on them and stuff. And
yeah.
I'm thinking about the anatomy of my butt, and it's like,
there are
go with me on
lot.
This.
Yeah,
go with me on this. No,
think about the anatomy of my butt.
Okay, so like you have a hole, and then you have cheeks, right? And the cheeks like kind of come together around the hole. So you stick this bejeweled butt plug in there, and it's got this big flange thing on it with like some diamond thing. Wouldn't that be really uncomfortable? It wouldn't be so bad in your butt. Like that part feels fine. But wouldn't the flange part between your butt cheeks feel really uncomfortable?
I guess it depends on if the jewel is bigger than the flange, or if the flange is like a big circle and the jewel fits within that.
Well, the way I've always seen it is the jewel flits like inside the flange, like it doesn't stick out past it.
Okay.
But I don't know. I've never tried one that has that.
This is why we need a video podcast where we can just put them in my ass and just show.
We absolutely do.
And so if
I don't think anybody will argue with that.
Are there any companies that want to send us?
Oh, there you go. We would love a butt plug sponsorship. If you sell butt plugs, we're interested, and we'll put your name all over it.
Is this one of those like you'd write the company on my ass while their toy was in me?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
It's like the tits, like writing
100%.
like,
absolutely.
NASCAR tits, NASCAR ass.
But no, I think that's true. I think the tail is, I think I just figured it out as we're talking about it. I think what it is it's like I can see it.
So it's not the tail, it being a tail.
It's not the animalistic nature of the tail.
It's not the animalistic piece.
It's not that. It's, I think I like the visibility of it.
Okay. So for furries, I assume there's that sexual attraction or, I guess attraction to a animal. I mean, is that what that is?
But see, I think you have to be really careful with that. And this is where we really need to get like an actual furry on the show, because I will say this. I don't want to say it like in their defense, but like, I don't believe that furries and bestiality are remotely connected.
Yeah, no.
I do not think that there's a connection. I mean, I guess kind of there is, but like, I don't think there's a real connection to bestiality. So I don't know. We do need to get a furry on the show, but this actually brings me to an interesting subject. Speaking of companies, we just tried a new toy recently.
We did.
And it is pretty exciting for us because we have not done any like BDSM bondage stuff or whatever.
Yeah.
But we have been looking for a harness for you to wear that holds your legs back.
Right. And so it's funny, like, this is because we're old.
And it's not because we're old,
but it's more of a, God, I feel I sound like such an old lady. I want a harness more for convenience, not for the visual.
Well, I want a harness because I want my hands free.
Right. So there's a convenience piece to it, right?
Well, yeah.
I'm looking for a harness not because it's sexy to put me in leather and I have cuffs. It's I need something else to hold this so I can do what I want with my hands.
We have tried every manner of toy, not for this purpose necessarily, but for other things, from like, kind of the local sex toy shop and stuff. And you always get the chintziest stuff.
Yeah, sometimes it's pretty cheap.
Like really flimsy and crummy material, and it's just, it falls apart or it doesn't fit right or whatever. So I wanted to find something that was like of good quality.
Right. And this is something that it holds my thighs back.
Yeah. So it's from a company, and this is not a sponsorship thing at all. It's just, this is where I found it. The company's called Extreme Restraints.
They have a lot of stuff too.
They have a lot of stuff, mostly BDSM focused, but it's extremerestraints.com, all spelled out. And the product that we got, I'm just looking at the website right now, is padded thigh sling with wrist cuffs. And what this is it's like two leather straps attached to a padded kind of a shoulder neck thing.
That was the
pillow
one part
sort
of it that was, it kind of goes behind your neck.
And the straps come down and they have nice cushion pads on them, and they wrap around the inside of your thighs, and then they come back up and they go through like a belt buckle.
And it was pretty
on each
good
strap.
metal, like good
and
hardware.
It is like they are nicely made. It's not exactly like leather, but it is much better material than what you find at your normal store. And the metal stuff that was on it was like actually heavier metal that's going to last, which was nice. And they came with these great handcuff things, which were these nice padded handcuffs with nice straps and nice buckles and everything, which was really cool. But the thing that I thought was the best that I liked, it was just a little touch, but it really caught my attention. The piece that goes around your neck has D-rings on it, and the handcuffs have I don't exactly know what to call it, but it's like a clip that you just pull the little thing down and the thing opens up and you can undo it. But they're nice heavy duty clips. So you can take the hand restraints off and use them separately. You could do other things with them, or you could clip them on there. But again, they're nicely made. It really is nice stuff.
Yeah, and it was fairly comfortable. I will say the one part that was a little, I couldn't do it for a long period of time because it was very much around the back of my neck.
Right.
If it was like behind my shoulders.
If it was a little more based on your back.
Right. If there was more, I mean, because it just pulled on your neck.
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit, yeah. But the nice thing is, though, these straps have this nice heavy-duty D-ring on them.
Yeah.
So if instead of going around your neck with it, if we put straps on those, you could easily take it to the headboard.
Right, which is why we need a headboard.
Which is why we need a reinforced headboard.
Right. But I will say that Mr. Sno enjoyed these straps.
Very, very much. Well, the cool thing about it is...
He was enjoying them.
The cool thing about it is, like, she can be on her back in this thing, and we can be doing oral, and I've got my hands free now. Which, don't get me wrong, I love holding your thighs back. But it is...
But you also love rubbing up and down all the places.
I love going other places, too. Yeah. And it is freaking phenomenal for that.
It is. I mean, there is something, I think, visual about it, too.
Oh, my God. Well, speaking of visual, if you go to @SchedulingSyn on Twitter, you can even see some photos of this harness in action.
Yeah.
We might even post a couple of freshies up there on the Twitter just so that they're fresh for this episode. But yeah, Mrs. Sno looks amazing in this harness. And so we are definitely going to be going back to extreme restraints for a few other things. And I'm looking at their website now, and that same prices, it's on sale. It was $71.95, $53.95 on the website now. That's what I got it for. And I thought that was honestly pretty reasonable. That we have learned over, God, I don't know how many hundreds of sex toys that we've had, that it is absolutely worth paying a little more for better stuff.
Yeah.
Mrs. Sno one time broke
stop it.
a dildo
you have told this story so many times. Oh my God.
4 times. Lifetime warranty.
You're not going to get me fucked if you're telling people I'm breaking steel.
There is a aerospace grade titanium rod down the center of this dildo, and you snapped this thing 4 times. Unbelievable. So you get what you pay for.
I have nothing to say to you. I'm moving on.
I highly recommend it. You should definitely check that out.
Yeah.
We have an exciting announcement. So we've been talking about me engaging in solo play.
Yeah. For
it feels like a really long time.
You know, I think this kind of goes back to some of the other conversations we've had about, well, I think there's a lot of reasons and a lot of things that built up to us kind of getting to the point where I was okay with you doing solo play and something that you were wanting to do.
Yeah.
You know, we've talked about this like, you know, initially when we started this whole journey, we were all about couple swapping.
Yeah.
And
solo play was completely off the table.
Yeah, solo play was completely off the table. And there was just this idea that we would just find this couple that everything matched up, everything was good, and we could just swap and do same room stuff and that kind of stuff. But, you know, 4-way connections are so tough.
They are difficult.
I mean, and it's just tough because, you know, it's hard enough to find one person.
Right. Right.
Like, you know, it's hard enough to find one person that you can have that, you know, intimate level of, you know, relationship with, but to find it with 4, because it's not just me with the other guy, it's also me with the female that you play with.
Well, it's everybody with everybody.
It's everybody with everybody, and that's not easy to find.
It is not easy to find, and in the reality of things, particularly if you're not going to clubs and groups and house parties and stuff like that, where, you know, you kind of have that mingling option. If you're doing it with websites and apps and meetings and stuff like that, it is excruciatingly time consuming to try to find that couple, because, you know, you'll talk to people, you'll chat for a while, you'll decide, oh, we like them or we don't. And then it moves to a personal meet. And then by now it could have been days, weeks, or even months. and you finally go out and you meet these people, and one person says, oh, they're great, and the other person says, yeah, I'm not really interested.
Right.
And then it feels like starting over again.
Right.
At square one. It is excruciating.
And the other thing that played into us kind of getting to this point was, Mr. Sno has talked about this, that he felt he hasn't had, up until obviously some of these other experiences, when we had done some swaps and playing with other couples, it just wasn't as fulfilling for him. Like there was a piece that you just felt like you really weren't getting what you wanted out of it.
I think a lot of it, what it was, and truly in a way might still be, is when for me, I find when I'm in a group setting, be it same room play with another couple or a swap situation, I don't know if like my adult ADD or whatever kicks in or something, but there's so much going on in that moment, and I want to look at all of it. And I feel like a gopher, like I'm looking over here and looking over there and looking over here. And unfortunately what that does is it's two things. For one thing, it's difficult. It's more difficult for me to kind of focus on performing, for the person that I'm playing with. And it also, it really kind of takes away from the experience that I'm having with that person. And I haven't learned yet. This was kind of a lesson we learned early on, but in a couple swap situation, I really had not until recently, and maybe still now, learned that a couple swap situation is almost like you need to ignore the other couple. Like you're with that other person.
Right.
And you need to make sure, there's not rules, but like you should be trying to be a good partner for that other person. Right. Focus on them.
Right.
Make them be the main focus. And yes, your person's over here doing other things. But I find that to be extremely distracting.
Right.
And it's nothing at all against the women that I have played with. It's just that you are you. And I know that sounds stupid, but it's like, if you're doing that stuff, I'm going to want to watch.
Well, right. Like one of the things that you enjoy and get off is watching me enjoy it. Right. Or,
absolutely.
And so it's hard for you to then engage and be connected and present for the other person that you're trying to be with.
Exactly.
Right. And so there's just a lot going on. And so we had to have these kind of awkward experiences for us to kind of learn. And I think one of the things that I know I felt in this whole journey was I was having an amazing time, and I was having a lot of great experiences and a lot of fun, and I was gaining a lot of confidence, and it was just this amazing thing for me. And it was not for you. And that was really hard, as we've just, and again, we talk about doing this together, right? Like, this isn't just about me. This isn't just about you. And I really didn't want to, I didn't want you not to have the same thing. I wanted you to get the confidence that I've gotten. I've wanted you to get the experiences and fun and all those things that I've gotten out of this.
Right.
And I think when we started, we thought we were going to get it all the same way. And obviously, as we've kind of gone down this road, we learned that we need different things and we want different things. And so this is kind of one of those open conversations, being vulnerable, being empathetic, being self-reflective, like all of those pieces is really important, because it's about, this isn't substituting, this is additive, right? This is more
100%
enjoy. And if you're not getting that out of it,
right,
then I'm not getting it. You know what I mean? It's not fun for me.
Right.
And so that really, after those experiences and us having all these conversations, and obviously, a lot of conversation about what I'm okay with, what you're okay with, what, like, again, we have to be really honest with each other and ourselves. And I think, I got comfortable with that whole idea of you playing solo, like solo play with me not present. Now, one of the things for me is I know the woman that you play with, like, she's part of a couple that we know and that we're good friends with.
Right.
And so that for me, that's kind of what I wanted.
You've built a lot of trust in that.
Correct. Like, I don't think I would feel comfortable with you just going out there on an app and finding a woman that I did not know and you playing with her. Like, that's not
right.
no.
Right.
And so because I have a lot of respect for her, she has respect for us. I have respect for her and her person. Like, it just made sense, and I was totally comfortable with that.
Right. And you feel comfortable with it. So she is the same person who we had a couple swap with, she and her husband.
Yeah.
And she gave me some input early on that I really needed to hear. And it was a lot based on kind of what we're talking about in terms of sort of being distracted, not being present and things like that. And, you know, it was really hard to hear, but and we've talked about it in a previous episode, so I'll kind of leave it with that. But I was really grateful for that feedback. And so this had been coming around for a long time, and our typical scheduling nightmare, it had been scheduled and canceled and scheduled and canceled and scheduled and canceled a bunch of times. But finally we made it work where she came over and you were not home.
I was at work.
You were at work. And
the one day I have to go in the office.
So this was kind of funny. She came over and I'll admit I was nervous. I was like,
well,
really
it's also
nervous.
not only like the comfortability of who you're playing with, but like this woman is coming over to my house when I am not there.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, and
like if you would have said again, like what we start out to what we wanted, like I'd be like, absolutely no one's, first of all, you're not doing anything by yourself. Fuck no, she can't come to my house.
Yeah. What planet are we on?
Right.
Well, I know. Right. So there was that, but it was just also, you know, if I'm honest, this sounds so stupid and so corny, but like I wanted to do a good job. Right? Like,
right. No, I totally get it.
Oh my God.
I felt that exact same way about the, you know, like when I popped that guy's cherry, right? Like,
yeah,
I want this to be good.
Like, I want it to be good. Like, I don't care about me at all. Like, I'm not in this for me.
I need to get a good report card.
I just want a good report card. That's all I want. And she was wonderful. Gosh. And she comes over. And so this was the funniest thing. So, she, so stupid. She came over and we were going to have lunch and then play. You know, that was like the plan, right? And so I had ordered like sandwiches and I had like planned everything out that like food should be getting there like right about the time that she was going to get there and like we'd be good to go. And then we could go do our thing because she was coming from like some meetings and stuff. And she gets here and I tell her, hey, food's on the way, no problem. And we just kind of start talking and we're sitting on the couch and kind of flirting and talking and so on. And after a while, I'm like, when is this fucking sandwich going to get here? Like this is getting fucking, like, it's ridiculous. And I realized in my horny haste, I had ordered food.
Horny haste.
But like, I had looked at my phone and it's like, I forgot to hit like the submit button or some shit. And I'm like, oh my God. And I hit the button and I'm like, oh gosh, I'm sorry. I screwed this up. And she laughed and I said, honestly, I kind of just want to take you upstairs right now.
Yeah.
And I don't really care whether food gets here or not.
I don't want that ham sandwich. I want your ham sandwich.
And she kind of laughed and she's like, yeah, okay. And so that's exactly what we did. We went upstairs and had an amazing time.
And they took videos because I did request that.
Yeah. She videotaped it. And I'm here to tell you, it's good stuff. And we had a amazing time. She was unbelievable. And what was really funny was like somewhere around round 2-ish, we heard a knock at the door. And I looked at her and I'm like,
oh, well,
think I should go get it. She's like, I don't think so. And we just kept playing. And then after we were all done, we're like, let's go see if we have sandwiches at the door.
I mean, that honestly, that's a good play date right there.
And sure enough, there they were. It was fantastic. Worked out great. But it was really, really great. We had a great time. But of the whole thing, for me, the win actually came around like a couple of weeks later, or maybe a week later, when I asked her, would you like to come over and play again on like Tuesday or whatever day? And her response was, yes, please. and I got to tell you, like that, I smiled like a 10-year-old.
Well, I tell you, I think it was pretty, we talk about like the reconnection, like the, as they call it, reclaiming.
Right.
And that was pretty intense for you. Like, obviously I was not a part of this all, in that I was not physically present.
Right.
Right. And I was in a very different headspace. Right. Like I wasn't like sitting, waiting, like just hearing all about it. Right. Like I was literally like I was busy. I was in a different place. I was at work. Right. So like my mind was wandering to it, but clearly not able to focus on it because I had stuff to do.
Yeah.
And, so when I came home, it was really kind of, because I was kind of coming into it much colder, if you will.
Yeah.
And you were very revved up.
Oh yeah.
And so that was kind of fun.
Yeah.
To come home and say, well, how did it go? And tell me what happened and tell me, what did you do? And I watched the videos, and it was just, and then it just like kind of like,
it was kind of on.
Yeah, it was very much on.
Well, and that's the weirdest thing. I mean, it's a weird experience the first time you do it. Like when your person comes home and they've got this kind of coy smile on their face and they're like, so how was it? You know what I mean? It's like, holy shit, are we having this conversation? Like,
yeah.
I mean, I can't believe we're
here.
I can't believe we're here.
And honestly, I felt I was really excited for you. Like I was excited that like you had this opportunity to play with somebody that you were attracted to and that you wanted to play with, and that you just, I mean, I didn't want you to get in your head about it at all. I was like, have fun, be good, like be good. Like,
be good at it.
Be good at it. But like just go have fun, enjoy it. Like, I'm good. See ya. You know what I mean? And I wanted to make sure that you weren't getting in your head about like, is she really okay with this?
Right.
Like I wanted to make sure that you knew that does not need to be on your mind.
Was there any part of you that skipped a beat at any point where you're like, I don't know if I like this?
I think I think because we had so many conversations about it. I think because when you and I have engaged in this, embarked on this whole journey, we kind of made the decision that this was something that we both wanted to do.
Right.
And if one of us didn't want something, that it wasn't going to happen. Right. Like there was very much that mutual respect.
Uh-huh.
And I felt like if it went the way of, if I don't like something, we have to kind of like reevaluate, to the whole thing of, if I'm not getting exactly what I want out of it, reevaluating, right? It's the same kind of conversation and understanding and mutual respect. And so there wasn't a part of me that, because I knew her, because I know she's in a healthy, good relationship with her person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there was not insecurity.
No.
You know what I mean? Like if perhaps the person you played with didn't have a good relationship or was single, or that maybe I'd be a little bit more, but I knew her, she knows us. We have a good relationship. There's respect there. So no, I didn't know how it was going to feel after, honestly.
Right.
Like there was definitely this thought of, I don't know how I'm going to feel.
Right.
I can speculate how I'm going to feel, and I can kind of work through whatever I may feel. But until it happens, I don't know.
It takes a lot of courage to be in that shoes.
It does. But it also is not only courage, but it's also, I also know that if we decide, okay, we're going to do this, and then we do it, whatever, and then you or I are like, I don't want to do that again, I'm not going to hold it against you.
I think that's,
what I mean? Like there's this kind of like, we did this, we learned that this is not what we want to do, and that's it.
There's a certain element of if you're going to get in the pool, you're going to have to jump.
Yeah.
And once you've jumped, there's no going back.
Right.
You're in this now. You're going in the water whether you like it or not. And
right. But there's also that respect of if you don't want to go back in the water, okay.
No, that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
It's like it's not so much the coming back around again, but it's like that at the point at which, and I know I had told you this a bunch of times, like if you texted me or something and said, hey, I'm not feeling good about this. I would like for this not to happen.
Yeah.
Then, we would have stopped. But I also said to you, and this is true, like once I take my pants off, I'm not going to be checking my phone.
Right.
And so there is a point at which it's just going to happen.
Right.
And I think there's a lot of courage in that. There's a lot of trust in that. And I think you're right. I think you have to be resigned to the idea that if I'm going to say yes, it's going to happen.
Right.
I don't know if I'm going to love it or not.
Right.
But I have to be willing to get past it if I find out I didn't love it.
Right. And you have to be willing to say, okay, my partner allowed me or we did this, right? We chose to do this, but now
we're not going to do it again.
We're not going to do it again.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Despite how I might feel about it.
Right. And that's tough.
It's really tough. And that's where, oh my gosh, this lifestyle stuff can be such a slippery slope.
Mm-hmm.
And again, going back to that article, it's that whole idea of unfulfilled, whatever. That's the slippery slope that freaks me out a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And when some person decides, I love this, and the other person says, I don't.
Yeah.
That can get tricky.
Mm-hmm.
That can get really, really tricky.
But you have to have the relationship and the open and honesty to be able to say that.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's easy to say that you're not going to be resentful or you're not going to be disappointed. But, it's kind of working through that. Well, and maybe it's not closed forever, or maybe it just has to be different.
Well, and you might be surprised at what part of it upsets you. For example, your partner goes and has solo play with somebody, and as they're describing it to you, you learn that they spent the next 3 hours doing naked cuddle pillow talk.
Yeah.
And the naked cuddle pillow talk really pisses you off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It could be
you can
like,
put your dick wherever you want, but don't you talk to her.
Yeah, fucking don't share feelings. You know what I mean? Like, I get that's just it. Like you are overturning mental rocks here, and you don't always know what's down there. I kind of feel that way with you doing solo play, and I know you've kind of expressed that that's not something you have particular interest in.
I mean, I don't think I do. I mean, I guess I have not. I have not had the desire or the experience of wanting to do that.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would count it out 100% because I mean, never say never, right? But like, I haven't really, anytime I've wanted to play with somebody, I've wanted you there for a variety of reasons. I wanted you to be a part of it.
Right. Right. But I think, if you were to engage in solo play, it would be, I would want to know the person.
Sure.
I mean, I don't think I would be comfortable with you finding a random person on the app and going off and doing that.
Yep.
For a lot of reasons. But I think just like you, I'm exactly like you in the sense that I would want to have that sense of stability with that other person.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's huge because I need, in order for me to be comfortable with it and enthusiastic about it, I need to believe there's no threat here.
Well, right. I mean, I think there's definitely that piece of stability or safety. Yeah.
Right. I need to know that, first of all, you're not going to hurt my person.
Yeah.
Right. You're not going to hurt her physically or emotionally. That's like key for me.
Yeah.
But then also you're not going to hurt my relationship, and you have no interest in doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to believe both of those things before I'm okay with that. But I think that would be interesting. I don't think I could even sharpen pencils if I knew that you were playing somewhere, much less work.
Yeah.
I think I would be a distracted mess the whole time.
Yeah, I don't
I think I would just be hard the entire time.
I think, we talked about in the closest thing that I would want to engage in any quote unquote solo play is that fantasy of us all going to a hotel, the three of us.
Yeah.
Like going down to the bar, having a drink, and me going upstairs with him.
Yeah.
And then like either you coming up to join us 20 minutes, half an hour later, or him coming down and you coming right back up.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that is the closest thing that I feel like there's definitely that fantasy of that. But fantasy and reality, right? But like, that's just.
Well, speaking of fantasies and realities.
But I also think, I don't think I would feel comfortable in engaging in solo play unless we have all played together before.
I agree with that.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I'd want my first time to be with them by myself.
I mean, I could, ideally, yes. I could see it with a person that, like, I can think of a couple people that we've gotten to know that we haven't played with, that if you did play with them without me, I think I'd be okay with it because I know them well enough personally.
Yeah, okay. But even like.
But I get where you're saying with that.
Yeah.
So, speaking of fantasy and reality.
Do you know what scandalous thing we did?
We did some scandalous shit. So we went to a Holiday Inn on a Tuesday evening to meet up with a guy. And it was shady AF.
We rented a room.
Yeah.
At a Holiday Inn. And for sex, 100%. We were there for probably, what, an hour and a half?
Oh, I bet it was more like 2.5 at least.
No.
But this was funny. So I get over to the hotel before the two of them arrived.
Oh.
Because I wanted to like get over there and like get checked in and like the room's like ready to go, right? I didn't want the awkward process of we all stand around while we check in the room. Because I was meeting a friend
for drinks,
and,
for work.
Yeah.
And I was going to join up with you later. Yeah.
Right. So I get to the room and I'm like, I've brought like the sex bag, right?
Sex bag.
That has all of the things. And so I get there, we're kind of getting situated. I kind of have some stuff laid out. I even took a shower,
Yeah.
Well, this room, I didn't think much of it, but it had an adjoining room door, right? I didn't really think a whole lot of it. It was kind of at the end of the hallway still, but pretty soon, and before you guys got there, I hear the door open in the room next door, and this whole family comes pouring in. And I hear like kids' voices, and I hear kids talking to mommy about snacks. And I'm like, oh my God. This is not going to work.
This is not going to work.
Oh my God. For so many reasons, this is not going to work. And so I called down to the front desk and I said, hey, it sounds to me like a family has arrived in the room next door.
And we are going to be doing some loud fucking.
We're going to be doing some loud fucking. No, I said, hey, listen, I've got a really early day tomorrow. I really need to get good sleep. And I don't think that's going to happen here. I don't want to bother them at all because, I get it. We have kids too, but is there another room available? And fortunately there was, but the bad news was the computer system was down. So I had to wait like an hour to get another room. Finally, Mrs. Sno gets to the hotel and she's like, what the fuck? And I'm sitting around in the lobby waiting for a new hotel room. Fortunately.
And it's awkward. So it's awkward because you and I are standing in the lobby of this hotel.
Right. With no bags.
With no luggage.
Well, except one bag with a bunch of dildos in it.
And it's like, it's just
it's pretty
shady.
Obvious, right?
Yeah.
So finally they get us set up with a new room.
Oh my gosh.
And we get situated right before he arrives. So that worked out good. But once we got settled, we had a really good time.
We did. I was nervous, and we had played with this guy before. But I was nervous, and I think it was because it was just the whole like we were in a hotel room like on a Tuesday night. Like it just seemed like
we're definitely out of our
into
element.
My parking spot because I didn't want anyone to see like my car. Like it was just so scandalous. It was very scandalous. But Yeah, it was a lot of fun. We first of all, so this gentleman is bi, and so he not only played with me, but he also got to play with you.
Yep.
And so I never, and we've had a couple experiences like this, but it's incredibly hot to see you with another guy. Like, I did not anticipate that would be such a turn on, and that would just be really hot to watch you enjoy that. But also, it's very, very good. And this individual is very well endowed. He had a beautiful, huge cock that I thoroughly enjoyed.
Yes, you did.
I think my favorite part was you were just going to town on me, just fucking me. And I would looked up and he was standing next to you, on top of the bed, mind you, standing next to you, and you were sucking him off while you fucked me.
Yeah.
And came in me. And that was really fucking hot.
Yeah, I've never done that before.
And it was not only hot watching that, it was also hot watching him see this.
Yeah.
Like, I think you could tell he was very into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we got adventurous, and we did something that we've never done before,
which we never thought we would do.
And again, because we're not tiny people, like the whole like geometry rules, right? But we did some DP.
Yes.
And so I got to straddle him. It's such a big dick. It was so hot. I got to straddle him, and you came. Well, I was on top of him, and you came behind me.
Yeah. So here's how it works. So he was laying on his back. You were straddling him,
mm-hmm.
and I crawled in. But I actually kind of pushed his legs to the sides,
mm-hmm.
and I crawled in between his legs, and I was able to get behind you.
Mm-hmm. And so that was pretty hot.
That was very fucking hot.
And that was the first time you'd done that.
I had never done that before. We've done anal before. We have never done that before.
Yeah.
That was fucking incredible.
Yeah. And so that was filling. And
so what was it like? Like, I mean, clearly you had imagined doing it before.
Yeah, I mean, it felt good. It just I think there was a lot of it that was more mental than physical.
In a good way or a bad way?
In a good way. I mean, like, it's the fantasy of like doing it and actually like knowing that you have two dicks in you.
Yeah.
That's so naughty.
Yeah.
And really hot.
Yeah.
And I kind of didn't know how to move because you were kind of going to town behind me, and I was trying to also kind of like pump on him.
Well, I could tell that he was having no problem doing his own thing down there.
Yeah. And so it's also kind of like a awkward rhythm. Like, I go up, you go down, you go up.
I think the key is, so I was thinking about this later. It's funny that you mentioned that. I think the key is you just have to do nothing.
You know, as a woman.
Like, I think if you just stay still.
And just let the men do what they want to me.
I think so. I think that's what works best for that.
Have you been talking to a lot of the women, like what they want? just don't move.
Would you have liked to have a cock in your mouth at the same time?
I think just to say that I had all of my holes filled. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's still a future goal out there.
Do I have to move my mouth, or do I don't move that at all? Either?
I don't know that you have to do that either. I think you could just hang out. Honestly,
I could just be available.
There you go.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah, sure.
So that
I think not only. Okay, see, now I'm getting greedy. Yep, here it is.
Do it.
So, DP.
Yeah.
I'm sucking someone off.
Right.
And another guy's just jacking off on my tits.
Oh. Well, that would be hard because your tits are pointing down.
Okay. Well, I mean, dicks can be anywhere.
Dicks can be anywhere. And they're pretty mobile.
They're pretty mobile.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So you are turning the big 40 this year, just like I did earlier this year.
I know.
And your suggestion was to put your ass in the air and give anybody who wanted it 40 strokes. And I thought about this later and I counted it out. Like I, like an idiot, stood there and like humped the air at like the approximate humping speed.
Why didn't you tell me you were doing this?
Well, because it's embarrassing, but I could tell like the whole world that I did it.
Right.
You know?
That makes sense.
So I'm standing there humping the air like a moron and counting pumps.
Yeah.
And 40 is nowhere near enough.
Well,
I mean, it's a cute idea.
So what do I need to do? Turn 80? Like I'm not turning
80.
Sorry, bro.
I don't know. We'll have to come up with something, but 40 is not going to work.
Well, I thought it'd be kind of cool to just like put my ass in the air and like people just take their turns. And I didn't say you could do more than 40, but you just do 40 at a time.
Oh, 40 at a time. Okay. I think that's fair. I've always wanted to try to put like some kind of a pedometer on my dick. Like I've always wanted to know, like, you know, that old thing, like
dickometer,
dickometer, like how many licks does it take to get to the lollipop or whatever the hell that old thing was?
There's a lollipop down there.
You know what I mean? So like, how many does it take? I don't know. We need a dickometer to know this.
Yeah.
It's science.
It's science. We are very scientific.
We're very scientific. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think at this point, I think we're all caught up.
Yeah, I think so. We've had, despite the fact that we haven't been recording as often as we would love, we have had some fun. We've been a little bit busy. And
we've even got a couple of possibilities yet this week.
We do.
Yeah.
Sure.
And honestly, I think we're probably going to get some comments about the butt plug tryout.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I'm excited about that. That'll be fun.
I'm excited too. I'm glad you're excited for it. Maybe our friends at Extreme Restraints can help us out with that.
Do they sell butt plugs?
I'm sure that they do. I haven't looked, but you know they do.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
all right. Well, I'm open to trying it.
Okay. Well, what more can you ask for?
I mean, you know.
Okay.
What it is.
Well, that's all for now.
Yep. As always, keep in touch with us. We want to hear from you. And if you're a furry, please let us know.
We absolutely want to hear from you if you're a furry. We have to get a furry on the show. Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.
We want to hear from you. Email us at snomilf@yahoo.com. That's SNOMILF@yahoo.com. You can also join us on our Discord and have some fun interactive conversations with us. The link is in the show notes. Talk to you soon.